A big and rude awakening for the supporters of Team GB this week as Australia tear them apart in the first test between the two countries for far too long time. A big and rude awakening too for the BSPA and all the sports promoters as the public demonstrate a real appetite for our sport in big numbers. Only in Speedway. Good evening and welcome once again to the Speedway Tavern. As per normal, we have in the studio. Are you on camera today, Webby?
I am, yes.
Okay, so we've got Webby on camera.
You're back.
Unfortunately, and we've got Matt Buck as well.
Good evening.
And myself, GA. It's hot.
It is hot, yeah.
Yeah, again. I worry about the track, but all the tracks, I think they're all suffering.
They are suffering, at the moment. So,
but anyway. Just to let people know that we will have on the phone about 8:15 today. We've got an interview with Andy Grahame live on the show. So all good stuff for supporters of Birmingham and
he did rod, 3 spells at Wolves. So.
Yeah, he had some spells. I think he even had a go at Cradley, didn't he?
Yes, he did. Yeah,
and Oxford.
We all like to have a go at Cradley, though, don't
we? And it's official. Webby's woke
help
up.
yourself to a beer. So.
Yeah. Right. Well, let's get straight into it then. Let's talk about that match against Cradley, Birmingham versus Cradley, 45-45 draw. You wouldn't have picked that when we was 8 points behind a third of the way into the match.
What a meeting.
It was a great meeting. It was a great meeting.
Great meeting, good crowd, good atmosphere, I thought. Cradley, I spoke to Tom Bacon before the meeting, just name dropping here, for Eran, and he said, in fairness, he didn't feel there was any pressure at all on Birmingham.
Right.
With the everybody was expecting Cradley to go there and win. Mm-hmm. The national trophy, would have been great for Birmingham to get to the final, but of course the main priority is, of course, the league. So, but yeah, I think Birmingham. I think in the first few heats, once it looked like Birmingham were going to fall to another big defeat, and but the heads didn't drop, and that was a real plus for me.
Considering what happened in the matches that had gone on previously, for the heads to not drop and just sort of say, we can pull this back. And my life, did they?
Yeah, I think a full strength Birmingham team would have won that.
Well, without doubt.
Without doubt, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if Daniel, just one extra rider, if Daniel Newman had been there, we'd have won that.
Yeah, more experienced reserve in the septet would have been.
Well, we come close. I mean, Jamie Seeley came close to earning that extra point, just that 1 point that we would have needed, and we would have then been in the National Trophy final. Which, by the way, we're renaming it now. It's not called the National Trophy anymore. It's called the Cradley Benefit Trophy. So just so that you know, because we can.
I think to be fair, on the night, the draw was probably the fair result, to be honest, because Cradley. Yeah, you take it. Cradley had the advantage of having quite a strong team. You could say a pick and mix team if you like.
I think Tom Bacon was a little dicky bird. Tells me he was quite critical of the way that Cradley were able to. But
he certainly was. When he spoke to me. So
yeah, that's what I'd heard.
I'm not going to tell you what he said. You'll have to buy the DVD. It's available at your local.
Hello. Hold on. Who pays your wages? Oh no. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, but so I gotta be honest though, and I think I might have ruffled a few Cradley feathers when I put this on Facebook. I think if I was a Cradley supporter, I'd have been very disappointed in my team. They should have been.
I thought Cradley got complacent, to be honest. I thought I think it was first 5 or 6 seats they were the better side, and I think maybe they just relaxed a little bit, which I suppose is to a point understandable given the form that Birmingham have been in recently with back-to-back home defeats. I think once maybe they switched off a little bit and then just couldn't get it back. But In fairness, that's taking credit away from Birmingham, because it was a very dogged, hard-fought Birmingham performance last Wednesday.
I think Cradley have got to ride better in the final if they're going to.
They'll have to ride a lot better than that. That's got the potential to be an absolute cracker of a final, I think.
I might actually go to it. I'm depending on when it is. I'm thinking of going.
And we know that there's not much loss between Mildenhall and Cradley
that will be quite interesting to sit in the background and not have an emotional attachment to either of the teams and watch that as a neutral. I think that'd be quite
Have they announced the dates for that yet? Or?
Not as far as I'm aware. So who knows what Team Cradley will have by then. Yes.
Tom Australian with, hi guys, delighted Joss Embleton has been signed about blah 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 time.
Okay, well we'll talk about that in a minute, and also particularly about time, because I think from the little bits that I know, I actually think this was the first chance that we had to sign him. I know people think that there was times earlier that we had to sign him, but I'm pretty sure that actually this is the first chance we've had to sign him. But we will certainly get on to that. Hoping Lawrence Rogers is listening tonight as well, so and he might like to make a comment on that one. I don't know. It was. It's weird, isn't it? You get 45 all draw against Cradley, you get knocked out of the trophy, and yet you come away feeling quite chipper and quite pleased as a Brummie supporter.
I mean, I came away from that meeting buzzing. I suppose that's easy because I'm a neutral fan, although I wanted Birmingham to win last week, obviously. But
of course, yeah. You're never neutral when it comes to Cradley. Let's be honest about it.
But no, I mean, it was a really it was a good advert for National League racing, I thought, and. I said before, I still think there's this little bit of stigma with the National League, that it's just full of riders who wobble round and fall off. And
there is certainly an element of that.
Yeah, the rods at the lower end of the team. Yeah, I mean, I was probably as guilty of a lot of people of thinking that, because I'd seen very little National League racing before Birmingham reopened in 2015. But there's some quality riders in the division now, and. It's a good place for young riders to learn the trade. And
but you look at riders like James Shane, wow.
Yeah, great rider, really exciting rider.
Some of the passes that he was making were worth the admission fee by themselves. Going around the outside of people where there was no room. Somehow, I know he's a small guy, but he got himself on his bike through a space that I wouldn't put a gnat through. So it was very exciting. And we also say Tom Bacon, wow.
Tom Bacon's having a tremendous time at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, he rode for Wolves yesterday.
Arguably the best rider in the National League at the moment.
I think that's he's certainly got the highest average anyway. And he just seems to go to any track and he's a very good gaiter, and that helps. Of course we do. We know that, but
he's certainly impressed the Wolverhampton promotion in the two guest appearances that he's had as a replacement for Nathan
Do you reckon
Reeves.
he might well be in the team next year?
I think a lot of it's
you can't see him riding National League next year, really, can you?
I think he's too good for National League, to be honest. I think a lot of it's going to depend on what league we've got.
Well, really. I mean, we might come on to that as well.
But I know that Peter Adams was very impressed with him down at Swindon, and from talking to people who were in conversation with CVS, who was there with Cradley on Wednesday. I mean, he's I've always been impressed with Tom Bacon when I've interviewed him for rerun. Very articulate. He's got a very good setup around him, very good team of mechanics, and he's
very professional, isn't he?
Very professional, and that's a big plus as far as Chris Van Stratton's concerned. He does like professional riders, and Tom Bacon, I think, has got potential to go not world champion. I'm not going to put that sort of expectation on him, but I think he's got the potential to have a good solid career in the sport.
Yeah. And who knows? I mean, you wouldn't pick him as a world champion, but then you wouldn't have picked Jason Doyle as a world champion a few years back. So, I mean, that gives hope to everybody that if you put the work in, the rewards are there.
You see, he really has stepped up this year. He had a good season last season, but this season
he's had something to his riding, I think, this year. I mean, the criticism of Tom Bacon has always been good gaiter, fast rider, but doesn't know how to get past people.
He has passed people this season. So
he has to. Ben Morley, passed around the outside.
No, he passed David Howe quite comfortably last night. So.
Right. Well, there you go. So he is definitely, he's that's what he does. He works at things. He works very hard, and that's what one of the things we mean by professionally, obviously thinks, right, I'm not doing this, so I need to work on that, and he's obviously worked on that, and I think possibly his time at Peterborough has helped him with that.
Yeah, he's having a good season with Peterborough as well.
So yeah, I think I would. It's a funny thing. I think I would be disappointed for him to see him riding for Birmingham or any other National League team next year. I'd love it if he was, obviously, because he's that good a rider. But I think from his point of view, and knowing him as I do and as you do, I think it would be disappointing for him if he couldn't jettison the National League next year. So, yeah.
Cradley rode like a random 7 riders as opposed to a team.
This is true, actually.
Well, they are random 7 riders there. They're a team of guests, effectively.
I mean, I think that was the difference.
Yeah.
In the end, that we rode and pulled together as a team, and that.
Yeah, I mean, you can understand why it's rubbed so many people up the wrong way. This idea of letting Cradley just have who they want in the team.
Yeah.
To be honest,
it's not been well thought out, has it?
I get
why we're surprised about that.
Listen, I understand why they want to keep Cradley on track, because at the end of the day, that all the other National League promoters, whatever they think of Cradley, the one thing you will guarantee with Cradley is when they come to your track, they'll bring a lot of fans.
Exactly.
So it's money over the tills at the turnstiles. So
and it was a good crowd.
It was a very good crowd.
So
yes,
I'd hate,
this week.
I'll say this hand on heart. I'd hate Cradley not to be competing next year, but I do feel if they are going to compete, they need to compete.
They need to be able to just do more
in all the leagues and compete on the same basis as the other teams do.
I think really that with Cradley, probably the hearts were all ahead last season. I think in the back of their mind there was always that thought, well, if we can't do the league, then is it really worth going on, to be honest? But obviously they've decided to carry on and just do National League. If it is, I mean, we keep hearing these rumours about possibly an amalgamation between the Premiership and Championship next season. That will mean more fixtures at Monmore Green, so they're going to struggle with the dates at Cradley, even with National League or National Trophy. So.
Yeah, well, that could. It depends on how that all comes together, because there's also talk of it being North and South leagues, which again.
I think before we move on, I think we ought to pass on our best wishes to everybody at Eastbourne, of course, with the sad loss of Bob Dugard.
Yeah. So. I mean, they've been very quiet, haven't they, at Eastbourne, and perhaps that was the reason for them being quiet. So
what a real character.
Yeah, one of Speedway's great servants, and perhaps somebody that a bit Marmite like.
Yeah, I remember him having a bit of a scrap with Porky many years ago on the centre.
Really,
so.
We miss that sort of thing in Speedway now. We really do miss that.
So I think Porky,
and that's another reason why for Birmingham the rivalry between Birmingham and Cradley is great.
Yeah.
I think sometimes the Cradley supporters possibly take it a little bit too far. I mean, I've heard some reports of things that were said at the Birmingham. I never saw anything. I never heard anything like that. It all seemed to be fairly good-natured. So, I don't know. But there were some unsavoury comments on Facebook after the match. I don't know whether you caught hold of some of those. Which, anyway... What is it somebody once said, in a country of free will, people will make stupid mistakes.
Yeah.
Or something of that ilk. We'll make stupid decisions, I think was the... Anyway.
What? I'll go and get our friend on the phone.
Oh gosh, yeah, we're coming up towards that time. I mean, while you're sorting that out, we'll make a start of talking about a very important meeting, I think, on Monday, which is the Hammer.
That's right, yeah.
I think I might go to that. I think that's looking like a very good meeting. They've put a hell of a...
They've put a lot of thought into that. And
a hell of a lineup.
It's always a good feel, to be fair, the Golden Hammer.
So the lineup is as follows: Ellis Perks, Jay Edwards. I forgot what the J stands for. Jason, is it?
Jason Edwards, yeah.
Yep. Alfie Botel, Drew Kemp, Tom Bacon, Connor Coles, Max Clegg, Danny Ayres, Danny Phillips, Tom Brennan, Bob Morley, Corey Auden, and Josh Coyne. That's a hell of a lineup.
He impressed me last week, Tom Brennan, I thought. I think, without wishing to be too critical of Leon Flint, I think at the moment, I don't think Leon Flint would have got the score that Tom Brennan got last week.
It's difficult to say where Leon Flint is at the moment because I think he's been having a few mechanical issues, and so that's sort of his scoring's gone down because of it. Actually, might be to our advantage. Yeah. When the big worry
I've got with Leon Flint is the injury that he's got. If it's a season ending, he's going to be saddled with a very high average, which is going to be. Yeah. Again, it's punishing success and rewarding failure, isn't it? So
it is, and we haven't heard anything, have we? We don't know what the situation is on that. No. I don't know whether Lawrence Rogers is listening tonight. Maybe he could give us an update. And actually, it goes without saying as well. Get better soon.
Yeah, absolutely.
Liam. I mean, we're saying all these things, but it's a young kid here.
Absolutely, yeah. And he's had such a very promising start to his career as well. It's been sort of uphill all the way up. And the last couple of weeks has been sort of levelled off and.
Yeah. Is he there with you?
Yeah.
Oh right, okay.
So that's a good lineup. I mean, there's a rider there that possibly is a favourite. Do you think? I mean, we did mention he was.
You can make a case for about 7 or 8 of those riders, to be honest.
But we know Tom Bacon rides the.
Who did you want to speak to?
Andy Grahame.
Andy. Yeah. Oh right, is that?
So he's got the wrong one.
Oh, right, okay. Got the wrong one.
Have I got? Oh.
No,
I do, but.
Yeah, go on.
So we're having a bit of trouble getting in touch with Andy. I'm not going to tell anybody why we're having a bit of trouble getting in touch with Andy.
So you can make a case for 7 or 8 of those riders in that meeting next when he gets home.
Yeah. We got the wrong Graham.
was it Alan or John?
It was Alan.
It wasn't John, was it?
I got the numbers for both of them. I gave Webby the wrong. Oh dear. Shall I get my code?
I would if I were you, sir.
Right. Well, maybe we'll get Alan on next week. That'd be a good idea. So I mean, let's go through the lineup while we're waiting. Ellis Perks.
I was disappointed with him last week.
I think when he came on the scene, he was like on fire.
Yeah.
But I think he's.
It does seem to be a bit of a trend that it doesn't last anywhere very long.
Or maybe I'm being unfair, and maybe the standard in the league's caught up with him. I mean,
maybe he's definitely got the talent. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah. Jason Edwards.
I was impressed with him as well on Monday.
Potential winner though.
Not potential winner, I don't think, but he had a couple of good races with Dan Greenwood last week, didn't he? So.
And yep. Okay, we're just.
We'll take a break from that.
Yeah, we're just going to get connected up now, and the next person that we'll be talking to will be our friend Andy Grahame. So, hello Andy, are you there, mate?
Yes, I can hear you.
We've got that brilliant, great stuff. So, first of all, Andy, thanks for agreeing to this interview for the second time. Yeah, just for those out there that don't know, I actually did interview Andy a couple of weeks ago for the 90th anniversary sort of special that we did.
Right.
It was modern technology will get you every time. Anyway, but thank you for agreeing to come back on again. And first of all, was you at the match last week?
Yes, I was. Yeah.
And it was a good match, wasn't it?
It was very good. Some good racing. Yes. Yeah.
So, as we know, that you're sort of mostly known for riding for Birmingham, but you did ride for a few other teams as well, didn't you?
Yes. When Birmingham closed in '83 for a few seasons, I went on loan to Wolverhampton in 1984. I had a late start to the season. I missed a few months, but I did ride for Wolves for the remainder of '84, and then the end of the '84 season, Oxford Speedway bought me outright from Birmingham.
And you had a few good seasons there with Hans Nielsen, of course.
Mm. Yes, I mean, Hans and I was good Speedway partners at Birmingham Speedway, and Hans wanted to strengthen the team at Oxford, and after his first year there in '84, he says, I'd like you to get Andy Grahame down there, and we need to strengthen the team. And not just myself going there, but Simon Wigg and Marvin Cox. And we became really, in that sort of era, '85, '86, '87, we became like the Manchester United of Speedway, you know.
Mm-hmm.
We got a good sponsor in Skoll Lager. We had some good riders in the team, and we won the league and we won the Knockout Cup.
That must have been really good for you, because I mean, obviously, you spent quite a number of years at Birmingham, and also being a local rider and the like. But we never really had a chance at winning the league in that time.
No, really, I suppose at that time we did have some good riders in Hans Nelson and myself. We did have some other second-string riders, but never really lived up to expectations.
Mm-hmm.
And Hans and I was battling against it all the time.
I would imagine, talking about riders that didn't live up to expectation, I think the rider that we always come back to is Finn Jensen.
Yeah, I mean, Finn was such a frustrating rider. We could take a bank holiday Monday when we used to ride at Birmingham on Monday evening.
Mm-hmm.
We was down at Exeter in a league match, 11 o'clock Monday morning. He didn't like the track, and he'd have 4 rides and didn't score a point. Then he'd come to our home track at Birmingham and think, oh, I haven't earned any money yet today. And then he'll go and have 4 wins on his home track,
Yeah.
paid maximum. It's unbelievable.
I think as a supporter, he was the most frustrating rider I've ever come across. I would imagine as a rider as well, it must have been.
It's frustrating to watch him, to know that he'd got the ability to race and do well on any track, but would only turn on the magic when it suited him, basically.
Yeah, bless him. So I would imagine that your best year in Speedway was 1982, I think it was, when you won the British final?
Yes, that's correct, yeah. I was going well in the end of 1981. Nigel Bucock selected me to go out to Australia, tour Australia with the Young England team through the winter of 81. And then when I came back to race in England in 82, I hadn't really had a break all winter. I was racing in Aussie, and I was so full of confidence when the season started in 82. I was just raring to go, I really was.
And it was a great season for you. And there was a story, wasn't there, behind the engine that you had in Australia?
Yeah, that's right. I took a brand new bike out to Australia, brand new frame kit, everything was, the engine was from Westlake in Gloucestershire, and I was that pleased with the way the engine performed in Australia. I said to the lads, I want to bring this engine home. Not the bike, just the engine, get it back on the plane if we can. Because if it came back on container, we was looking at 2 months.
Right.
I says, can we sort of get the engine out of this bike and bag it up in some sort of cardboard and make it look like a parcel of some description with some rope through the engine holes. And to this day, I still really don't know how we pulled it off, but we managed to get it through customs as hand luggage.
Things were different in those days. I don't think you'd get away with it these days. So.
I don't think you would somehow, no.
But, I mean, that's a brilliant story. And, of course, you had that engine and you started off that season like a house on fire.
Yeah.
And I think you got a call-up for the Team GB, but you didn't get as many call-ups for Team GB as you would have expected that year.
No, that's right. I was a bit disappointed from that point of view. I kept myself, never blew my own trumpet. I thought, when the time's right, I will get picked. And I got picked a few times, and I can remember the one year, actually, was going quite well, and we went out to the World Team Cup final, which was in Germany, in Pocking. I was reserved for the England team. And my teammate at the time, Simon Wigg, he actually ran 3 lasts, and the England management still kept him in, and I was really frustrated with that. For some unknown reason, my face just didn't seem to fit with the England management over here, and yet they would always have me on standby, and never. I'm sure if I would have been used a few more times to get my confidence up, in that particular time, I would have pulled it out of the bag. I'm sure I would.
Yeah, well, I don't think there's anybody here that would disagree. I think sometimes, as a Brummie myself, I think sometimes our accent gets in the way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's very true.
Yeah.
Actually, if you went over to Australia, the Australians actually love the Brummie accents.
Well,
Yeah,
I'm off
you
to
do all
Australia.
right over there.
Okay.
See you then.
I'm off to Australia then. That sounds good. So, going back to 1982, I mean, that was a brilliant year for you in that way, but there was a lot of sadness about that year as well. And I think you dedicated the trophy when you won it to a certain Mr. Zdeněk Kudrina.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, Perza Zdeněk, he was a good friend of mine. He lodged at John Harry's place, which was Windmill Village on the A45 at Coventry. John Harry was an ex-Coventry rider, but he was a real good friend of mine. Zdeněk lodged there, and the lead up to the British final, Zdeněk and John Harry was talking one night, and Zdeněk says, I predict Andy's going to pull the British final off. He says he's going well enough at the right time. And then, like, the week before the British final, Zdeněk got killed in a grass tracking accident. And we was all devastated in the team, you can imagine. He was such a likeable guy.
He was the heart and soul of that team. He really was.
Yeah, and John Harry came up to me before the meeting. I was actually ready to, 10 minutes before the meeting started. And John actually said to me, he says, you know, Zdeněk predicted you to win this meeting. Just go out and do it for him.
Right. And do you think that helped? Did that give you a little bit more steel?
It definitely, hearing things like that definitely spurred me on, you know.
Mm-hmm.
It was an inspiration to think, come on, do it for him.
And what was also good about that, from your point of view, I'd guess, is that second that night was your brother.
Yeah, that's right.
And I remember watching...
Alan was the guy, really, that got me onto a Speedway bike to start with. He taught me how to come in the turns very quick, along with Chris Harrison, a former rider and team manager at Birmingham. I can remember Alan, actually. He was actually on crutches at the time. He was riding for Birmingham at the time, and Chris Moore and him had a coming together, and Alan had broke his thigh.
I remember that incident very well.
And I'm actually out on Alan's bike because he says, you may as well use my Java bike. He said, because I'm not going to use it for the rest of the year. And the two of them stood coming in the first and second bend and were saying, don't shut off until you get past us. And each lap that I did, they was moving further down the straight. So the straights was getting longer. I was coming in the corners faster and faster.
Right.
And I did sit on my backside a few times, but I think it did me the world of good to have them two guys teach me, like Alan, my brother. It just built me confidence up, basically.
And obviously you became a very, very good rider. And I think it's true to say that around Birmingham, you were one of the sort of sporting heroes. I think you've told stories before about sort of being at filling stations and people coming up and talking to you and so on. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, it was like a common joke where out of a possible 12 points on a Monday night, they'd say, what was it with you last night? You only got 10. You know? And it was a good bit of friendly banter without like a lot of my friends in King's Standing and what have you. And it motivated me because a lot of people was getting enjoyment from it, and so was I. It built my confidence up.
Yeah, good stuff. So I think you've also got another claim to fame as well, if I remember right. Am I right in saying that you're the only rider that's been the number one for their team in the lower division and the higher division? I can't remember what that was called now. British League and National League, wasn't it? Yeah. Yeah,
that's correct. It was that was in 1979. I was a Birmingham rider, and I was put out on loan to Milton Keynes because at that time the Birmingham number one was Ray Wilson, and his father run the track at Milton Keynes, and Ray said to his father, Andy Grahame's up and coming, why don't you have him on loan from Birmingham to the second division club Milton Keynes? It'll help him confidence-wise, do the club world of good. And I went there in 78, and then in 1979, I was riding for Milton Keynes again on loan. But during that season, Richard Greer broke his leg.
Yeah.
So I ended up riding for Birmingham as well. And the thing about that was Birmingham was on a Monday night, First Division. Then the following night, the Tuesday, I was down for Milton Keynes in the Second Division. And I was still full of confidence from the night before riding at Birmingham against the top guys. It wasn't easy going to Milton Keynes, but it was easier. My confidence was high going to ride in the Second Division at that time. And lo and behold, at the end of that season, I was top of the averages for Milton Keynes, and I went from reserve to number one at Birmingham because Billy Sanders left Birmingham early before the end of the Birmingham season and went back to Ipswich, which gave me the number one race jacket, and I represented Birmingham in the British League Riders Final.
That's right. Yeah.
I did make history, yeah.
Yeah, good stuff. So, right, I'm going to thank you once again for coming on the interview. You probably, I'm going to hold my hand up here and say I am, as a young lad, I was the biggest Andy Grahame fan out there. So, I just want to thank you for some of the fantastic races that we saw. I was there at Coventry in 1982 when you won the British final. It was so, as a Brummie supporter, it was very nice to be to have that with all the Coventry supportors around us,
and probably Cradley as well,
and a few Cradley supporters. And it was wonderful at the end to see, when you won the thing, and then Alan was there and John was there as well. And
I think a lot of people forget, Andy, because you did have a spell with Cradley as well in the early 90s.
Yes, that's right. I did have a spell with Cradley. Yep.
Yep.
We'll try not to talk about that.
Because then it came back to us. And I think you finished your career with Wolves, didn't you? 94, I think.
Is that right? Did you finish your career with Wolves in 94?
Yes, 95 it was actually.
95.
I finished with Wolverhampton. Yes, yeah. I was all lined up to ride in 96, but I had a really late call before the season started off Chris Van Straten to say with the team that he'd selected, I wasn't in the 7 to start the season at Wolves. He'd picked Ollie Olsen's son Jacob to represent Wolves instead. So we was talking then a week before the season started.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I was a bit disappointed in that, and I sort of called it a day, really. A lot of people said I shouldn't have done, but I was getting a bit disillusioned with what had happened.
Well, as I say, I just want to thank you with my big fan hat on. You gave me some great times, and you gave the whole of the Birmingham public some fantastic times. So thank you very much, Andy.
Well, thank you very much for saying the nice things you said. And thanks for having me on your show. Cheers.
You are more than welcome, mate. You take care.
Thanks, Andy.
See you, Andy. Thanks a lot.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. I think I'm going to have to take a moment to calm down now.
I totally forgotten that we decided to sign Jakob Olsen. What a mistake that was. If anybody saw Jakob Olsen,
I think at Birmingham we signed Kim Major for a while. Nothing happened.
Jakob Olsen spent most of that season injured, but I mean, I think everybody was. In fact, I can remember being at Brandon because he rode for Coventry in '94, Jakob Olsen, and he had a really bad night in the last meeting of the season. And I remember a mate of mine saying, "I'm glad I ain't going to watch him every week." And then a couple of weeks later, we signed him.
It's not very often that the son in Speedway doesn't happen very often.
Well, a lot of people reckon Kim Major was actually that showed a lot of potential. Tony Briggs as well, of course, he had a bad injury at Coventry, didn't he? So
he did, yeah. That seems to happen. Yeah. I mean, I think Ty Woffington's
of course the other way around. Of course, he's obviously Ty Woffington, of course, and his father, the late Rob Woffington. So much missed, of course, today. So rode
for Birmingham, although Ty didn't realise that.
Yeah,
that he had, but I think he probably only one season. I think that was at Bordsley Green. Although somebody
was it 80, 85, 86?
Something like that, yeah, something like that. Have we got any texts on the thing while we're...
Oh, hang on. So,
yes, come... Yeah,
Okay, so I'll go back to on the web page.
Yeah.
Chat box. I'm guessing it's Tomo. He says, "Okay, guys." Checking my mics on. I read on the forum about Leon's average being 9 and 1. If he remains out injured for a bit longer, his average will remain around 9, thus making him unlikely to be picked up on that average in 2019.
Absolutely, and that's the crazy.
That is, well, yeah, that's horrible. Although I think he'd get picked, wouldn't I? I think we'll have him. I can't imagine us not having him. Can you?
Yeah.
I mean, I know his average is high, but if we go the route that I'm suspecting we're going to go next year, we'll have room for that. So
it is a risk, admittedly, but I suppose you can say about any signing's a risk.
Of course it is.
So, but again, that's really
it does make it more difficult. It makes it more of a decision.
Yeah, that's the fault of that's the problem with having averages. As I say, if you have a successful season, it can.
And that's the problem with having somebody really good starting at reserve, getting lots of easy rides and getting a false average. I don't think his average will turn out to be false in the end. I think he's easily good for that next year, depending how he comes back from this injury, of course. But yeah, it makes it more of a decision, and it is crazy. And of course, this is one of the reasons why. I mean, let's put this out there. I know a lot of people have been saying, "Well, sign Dan Gilks, sign Dan Gilks," and it would be a great signing for us right now. But he don't want to get an average.
No, he doesn't.
For those reasons, and that's what. And I'm pretty sure that is the only reason that we haven't signed Dan Gilks. That's not to say that we might not sign him when there's enough matches that he's not going to get an average.
Yeah.
Not sure on that one. That's just me wondering. By the way, that's not insider information.
We've got any more comments, Webby? I can't read that from here with glasses.
So Graham Darlington says, if as expected Britain goes with one big league next year, should the NL revert to a second half fixture so Cradley can ride after Wolves matches and give fans a full night's entertainment? These can be 5-rider, 10 heat meetings, and tracks like Buxton, Stoke, etc. run double headers on their home meetings.
From a personal point of view, I've got to say no, because from a Birmingham's point of view, that would be, I think, suicide.
With the curfew as well. I know there's a voluntary curfew.
Yeah, well, we wouldn't have a team to go as far as a first half. We're just us. We've got standalone. So for us to go with 5-man teams, people, I mean, I know that according to the Speedway Star, there are talks going on about the possibility of amalgamating leagues, and they're looking at changing, how many riders there are per team. So some people are favouring 6, some people are favouring 7, and so on. I think that if you went down to 5-man teams, that would be suicide, certainly for Birmingham. Would you? God, there'd be people would say, "No, I'm not going to come to watch that." I remember the one
season we had 8-man teams. That was it was too much. It was 8-man teams and 18 heats. It was just too long. So
I think that what happened at Glasgow last weekend demonstrates that there's an audience there for Speedway.
There is an audience.
It's not. It's not an easy place to get to Glasgow, is it?
No,
for the majority,
weekend, Graham also says, would Birmingham join the big league at championship level or stay NL?
Well, the detail, the devil's in the detail on that one, isn't it? It really is.
I think Birmingham have got the potential, if there is one big league, to be part of it. Whether the crowds would support higher level racing.
The way I look at it is leave the flipping National League alone. It's working. That's the way I look at it. It's by and large working. I think I'm desperate to go up a league. But I also recognise what's happening at Birmingham at the moment, and they're going about it the right way. They're building the crowds up.
Could they have?
And they are building the crowds up.
With the benefit of hindsight, would it have been better to have started in this league in 2007?
Do you know? I spoke to your dad about exactly that. And his opinion was that this league was nowhere near as professional in 2007.
No, in fairness, it
was more of a Midland development.
It was
league
just basically riders who were available were just turning up the clubs and getting a ride. So.
Which wouldn't have been great for Birmingham, and you wasn't allowed to have assets at that point.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't have been much point from that. Apparently, we are now allowed to have assets, and so maybe we need to build that up.
Mm-hmm.
So,
And Lawrence follows that up with 5-man, 10 heats would not work.
yeah, so there you go. That's my opinion
Yeah,
on
I'm
it
not
as well.
the second half's meetings.
I think
they weren't always hugely well supported, were they? So
no, there
fairness.
wasn't. There wasn't. Mostly people walked away. I think we're having Midland League matches and stuff like that gives a bit more of an attachment because it's a team thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think what would be great, what you used to have in the second halves was the reserves going against 2 riders that had won a race out of 4 riders to get the opportunity to go against the reserves, which gives the promoter the chance to see up and coming riders going against the reserves, or not necessarily the reserves. I think it might have been the lowest scoring riders that were put in there. So you got a chance to see, is there somebody that's better than those riders, and that was quite interesting from a fan's point of view. I'm wondering whether there's some way that could be engineered.
Yeah, we used to have the junior leagues after the main meetings of Wolves when I started going. I think the junior team won the league in the first year I started in my first season. So, and they were from I don't really remember that season very well, but from what I can vaguely remember, that was quite a well supported thing to happen as well. But whether it would happen now, I mean, we had Wolves run. Can't say National League, it was Conference League then in 2003, and the crowd on Tuesday nights, and the crowds just weren't really there, to be honest.
I think Graham says, how can it be working when the NL brings in Shane's perks, etc., when the NL is really a training ground? Remember the junior matches in the 80s with Andy Phillips, Colt Stonehoer, etc.?
No, I don't.
Phil's followed that with 10 heat meetings wouldn't work. Clubs would have to lower the cost of admission, meaning clubs would be out of pocket.
Yeah, I don't think it might work for teams where they're using it as a second half, but I think if it is, if there is, it wouldn't work for Eastbourne, it wouldn't work for us, it wouldn't work for
if there is
Buxton.
Well, if there is an amalgamation, I think that the team strengths will be a lot lesser than they are now, to be honest.
Well, it has to be, wouldn't it?
A fair bit.
In the top 2 leagues, you mean?
It would have to be on the terms of the clubs in the Championship, and I know we tried it in the mid 90s and it was on the terms of the top clubs, and it was just it was just too lopsided. So because too many of the top clubs weren't so keen on releasing too many.
And that's going to be the
riders.
problem, because those second tier clubs are going to be well aware of that. But I think the second tier clubs have probably got the power base in Speedway at the moment.
They probably have, to be honest. So
that might be something that. I see Tim Webster, who is a. Can you read that? Because I can't see it from here.
See Tim Webster, who is a Brummie's, tuned in. Ask him how he is after his crash for his comeback for Plymouth. I remember he rode in the Elite League for Birmingham once, a replacement for Simon Lambert, I think.
Okay, well there you go. That's you've asked that yourself. How you doing, Tim?
I don't remember him, to be honest. I know of Tim Webster, but I don't remember him riding as a guest.
I have a question. If anybody out there's got an answer to it, the National League Fours.
What's happened to it?
What? Yeah, when's that going to go? I
don't
was
think
really looking forward to that, because we were going to win that.
I suspect it's not going to happen now, to be honest.
Well,
it doesn't sound like it.
It doesn't sound like it. We were going to win that. Let's have it at Birmingham. I mean, we can't because of curfews and stuff. But
I think there was.
What you want really is to make up a competition so that Birmingham can win it.
Well, we're not making a competition. That was there. It was on the thing, and then all of a sudden it wasn't, and we don't. And there's been nothing said about it. And I want to know what's happened to it. When we went to Coventry and won it in 1916 with Adam Ellis.
1916. You're right.
2016.
You're only a lad, then.
Yeah, well, Speedway wasn't even invented then. What am I doing? Oh God! I'm going.
Gary Sparrow in disguise or something?
Oh dear! I think I better go back to bed. But that was one of my favourite Speedway moments. That was a great day. It was a great event. I think the Fours is a great event. I want the Fours back. What's happening? Somebody out there tell me.
No date for National League Fours, said Lawrence.
Well, there's your answer.
But that, yeah.
Not the answer you wanted, admittedly, I suppose.
Well,
no.
But is there going to be a date? Is it something that people are still looking at putting on, or are they just going to forget about it? Only in Speedway, hey? Only in Speedway. Right, let's get back to the... okay, right. I've just been waved a trophy. We're going to do that moment when we pick for the T-shirt.
Front to you this time.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't see me.
You don't trust me to put my hand in there. That's what it is.
Well, we won't go into that.
Yeah.
So.
Please don't.
And the winner is Roy Clark.
Roy Clark.
And used to work as a producer for the BBC.
Well,
Before my time, not
I think.
I'm sure that's not true. Okay, Roy, if you're listening, or if anybody that knows you is listening, get in touch via the usual means, and we will arrange to get that sent to you one way or
Graham
other.
Darlington just said 1916, first race is until 1930.
Yeah. That's a long way.
Old, but
Yeah. I'm going home now. So what that was about, for people that don't know, is if you share on the Facebook page, that's basically buying yourself a free raffle ticket to win a T-shirt for next week.
Yeah.
How many have we given out now?
I think we're up to about 10.
So it's quite exclusive then.
Oh, very exclusive.
So there you go. Good stuff. So let's go back to the Golden Hammer.
Yep.
We'll probably, actually, before we do that, I suppose also let you talk a little bit about Wolves. Easy win last night.
Very straightforward win last night against a Leicester team that were very, very disappointing, with the exception of Ricky Wells and David Howe. Leicester didn't really put up much opposition. They looked like they were going to keep it close early on, but once we got into our stride, it was a fairly straightforward 56-34 win and back into the top four now. So we could really do with getting a few away wins. Hopefully starting tomorrow at Somerset. That's going to be. Of course, I'll be going to. So
that'll be tough.
That will be a tough match. I think Jason Dawes
is coming back.
Possibly going to be back for tomorrow. Yeah. So that's going to be a boost for them. But solid team performance all the way through. Rory Schlein 11, Carl Howarth 8 and 2, Jonas B. Anderson making his debut. Looked a bit ropey in his first ride. He definitely looks like he's got the pace. It was just the track craft, but I think once he'd settled down, scored a very respectable 8 and 1. Sam Masters unbeaten 11 and 1.
So would that have been better than you could have expected off Cameron Heaps?
Well, I did say last week I suspected that Cameron Heaps, his place at Wolves, was on borrowed time. I think the moment that Peter Adams was singled him out for criticism after the meeting at Swindon when he scored nil last Monday, and it's very, very rare for Peter Adams to single riders out for criticism.
So it's definitely strengthened you then, you would say.
Yeah, and admittedly, it was not the hardest match we've had this season. Jakob Torsell back on form with a 12-point maximum. Ashley Morris 3. Tom Bacon again looking pretty impressive there. Scored 3 and 2. I think at the very least he deserved. He probably should have got more points on that as well. He was definitely on the pace and certainly wasn't.
He does ride Wolverhampton track.
He rides Wolves well, And for Leicester, Hans Andersen 3 and 1. He was really poor, and it was interesting. He touched the tapes in his first one, and Leicester put Connor Mountain in rather than putting Hans Andersen back off 15 metres, which seemed a bit strange. Ricky Wells 10, Charles Wright 7, Stuart Robson 2 and 2, Scott Nichols 2 again. Poor from Scott Nichols, Connor Mountain 1 and David Howe 9 and 1. So 56-34 and Wolves back into the top four.
You said poor again from Scott Nichols. I don't think Wolverhampton's his favourite track, is it?
He has done well at Wolves. Don't forget most of his British final wins were at Wolves, certainly. So it's a track he's always done well when he was in his prime. But I think the last couple of years he's not quite the force he has been. So which is a shame, because Scott Nichols in his pomp was a really, really good rider to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. And a fiery rider, and rode with a bit of passion. So obviously the best rider there last night then was was Tom Bacon, obviously. We've got to say that. I asked you a question and you came back as a true Midlander. I said, did he strengthen you? And you wouldn't say yes. Well, it was a weakened side. It was.
I don't think Cameron Apes would have got 8 points.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way. Not certainly not number 3.
He's a politician.
Yeah, he's a politician. Yeah, it was a. I'm not going to say yes in case it comes back and bites me on the bum. Answer really was where it was.
Yeah,
it was.
But no, but I mean that's the first time I've seen him ride, and I think early signs were very encouraging.
So let's see if we can. I'm rushing along now because I've just seen the time. Let's see if we can pick a winner. I want predictions. I want people's predictions out there for the Golden Hammer. Who they think's going to win? And we'll start. I'm putting you on the spot and we'll give you first choice.
Alfie Botel,
right. I'm not going to ask Chris. He's not listening to me.
There's a few more comments, so carry
Okay,
on.
yeah. Well, I'm obviously going to pick Tom Bacon. I think he's certainly up there, isn't he? It's got to be. I mean, a lot can depend on the format. I think presumably it'll be a final.
Graham's going for Drew Kemp.
Drew Kemp could be. He impressed me massively a couple of weeks ago at Perry Bar.
I think he rides Perry Bar well. I'm not sure he rides Wolverhampton as well because when we rode against Cradley, he wasn't. I mean, Tom Bacon beat him fairly easily on that night. So we shall see.
Tim Webster rode for Birmingham against Kingsley in April 2014 as a guest for Paul Stark. So,
well, somebody's got a hell of a memory.
But I don't think many Birmingham fans really want to remember the 2014 season. To be fair,
was a bit of a
which was
Paul Stark was one of the good parts of that season.
Simon Lambert did well as well, didn't he?
He started off slow and then absolutely. Okay.
Lawrence also goes for Tom Bacon.
Well, he's got to, hasn't he?
Of course.
He's got to, hasn't he?
Well, it'd be a bit frosty in the pits tomorrow if he went with somebody else, wouldn't it?
I think Leon was supposed to be riding as well, wasn't he?
Yeah.
But unfortunately, he's not going to be, which is a shame.
Drew got double figures that night at Monmore, says Graham.
Yes, he did, and I'm obviously not saying he's a bad rider. I'm just saying that I think at Wolverhampton, possibly, I'm doing your now. Might not be, that Tom Bacon possibly has got the beating of him. I will probably go Monday and be proven wrong. Mm-hmm. That's Speedway. Speedway. That's the way it works.
And dragging back to an earlier conversation, Eric says the smart money's on one big league championship level.
It's beginning to look that way, isn't it? From the vibes that we're getting, so
I've no idea whether it's a good thing or a bad thing. It's the devils are in the details.
The good thing about it would be more variety,
less doubling up.
More
would be
less. But I mean more variety in the fact that you won't see a team and then knowing that 3 weeks later they're back again.
See them again. Yeah.
Drew for double figures tomorrow as our guest 11, says Lawrence.
Okay, I didn't know he was riding tomorrow. Drew Kemp.
I haven't seen anything.
So so put the sides up. I want to. What? Hey, is this? We need to look at that. We've got 5 minutes. Can you put the Brummies site up for us? Thank you very much. Because there was nothing on it when I came. From when I last looked at it, which was at dinner time. I haven't had a chance to look at it. I haven't actually seen the lineup. We should say talk about Josh Pemberton.
Yes.
Good signing.
Solid signing. I think he's not a sign that's going to
Well, it's not Leon Flynn.
Not Leon Flynn,
Flynn, but he's going to score points. I mean, if he'd been with us last week, we'd have won that match, wouldn't we?
Oh, I think a full Birmingham team would have won that.
Well, but I mean,
one more experienced reserve would have been the difference, I think.
So I'm not going to read that. So if you can get the lineup for tomorrow's matches, we also have. Talk about Steve Boxall. Have you heard about this?
Yeah, I did see something about this. That's right. So,
for those that don't know, Steve Boxall's
he's guesting. He's guesting for Birmingham tomorrow, Drew Kemp. So
okay. Oh well, we've won that. We've got that meeting won then, haven't we?
It's a must-win match for Birmingham. That's more of a win, a more important meeting than the.
He's replacing Ayres.
Oh, of course, Danny Ayres was. What's I thought that was. Yeah. So what happened to Danny Ayres? Does it tell you?
No, nothing.
No, okay.
I'll go backtrack a bit. But,
This is good. This is good radio, isn't it?
He's got to fulfil work commitments.
Oh, okay. So he can't do it.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, okay. I'm in Drew Kemp's.
To me, tomorrow, that for me, meeting for Birmingham tomorrow is
we've got to win.
Much more important than last week.
Who's replacing Steve Boxall? Have they got a rider replacement or?
I think it's Ellis Perks, isn't it?
Ellis Perks
again, yeah.
Is he allowed to ride there 3 weeks on the trot?
Well, he's riding there 3 weeks on the trot, so
Might be an opportunity there for you, Lawrence, to do a little bit of protesting.
Tyler Hampshire's obviously back to McMeeting as well, because of course.
Yeah, but I suppose the thing is that he's a classed as a Cradley rider, isn't he? And Ellis Parks would have been classed as a Cradley rider, so that's probably why that's allowed. Damn, clutching at every straw I can get. We're going to win that, aren't we?
Oh, it's an important meeting for Birmingham. It's a must win, I think.
Yeah, but that's not what I asked you.
Yeah, well, you don't want to lose 3 matches at home on the spin.
Yeah, so are we going to win that one?
I think Birmingham. I think that strengthens Birmingham to camp in the team.
I think we're going to win that. I don't want to say it because I predicted we were going to beat Plymouth and
losing 3 successive home meetings is.
Well, we didn't lose last week.
Well, league meetings obviously take last week's meeting out of the equation. So.
Well, there you go. The 8-day rule affects guests only.
Right. Yeah, and I realised
of course we're going to win, says Lawrence.
Yeah, I don't think there's any. Yeah, we do need to win. I think Josh Pemberton strengthens us up where we need to be strengthened up. I did mention something earlier about this was I believe this was our first chance to sign him. I don't think he was available for us to sign when he left the Isle of Wight. So anyway, that's sort of what I've heard on the grapevine. I'd like to go into that a little bit more, but I can't, so we haven't got time. But then, hey ho. I'm looking forward to a win tomorrow. You're at
Somerset tomorrow.
Somerset tomorrow. Are you going to? Wolves going to win?
I also think so, but I think
we're
going for a point if possible. So
yeah, I think you could get a point. A lot depends on how Jason Gray comes back from his injury. So we should wish him well, really. Yeah. Okay, thank you very much. We will see you again next week when maybe we'll have
very quickly.
Yep.
GP.
Yes, GP at Miller finally on weekend. Ty Woffington continue doing what he's doing, not worrying about
doesn't need to win GP now, just needs to score big points.
Yeah, I think that's right. Good luck to Ty then, and good luck to everybody out there, and no more injuries. Take care, everyone. Bye bye.